As the sun begins to set, casting long shadows across the grid of streets, you step out onto your roof. From here, you can see the entire city, a sprawling, organized metropolis of life. The rooftops are flat, a place for you to sleep under the cool night sky. You can see your neighbors doing the same. It's a beautiful, communal sight. You are a part of a collective, a society that has solved the problem of heat by working together. You remember the lonely struggle in Egypt, the class struggle in Rome, the ingenuity of the wind towers in Mesopotamia. Here, you feel a sense of peace that you haven't felt before. It's not just about surviving the heat, it's about living in spite of it. You lie on your roof, the cool night air washing over you, and you feel a sense of profound gratitude for the city you live in. You close your eyes, and for the first time, you don't feel like you're just enduring. You feel like you're home. Hey guys, tonight we're stepping back in time. Not to a golden age of heroes and monuments, but to a world where the simplest comfort was a desperate, daily struggle. We're going to a place where the sun wasn't just a life-giving force, but a relentless, unforgiving hammer pounding down on you from dawn until dusk. I want you to close your eyes and imagine the air is thick, like soup, and every breath is a fight. Your clothes stick to your skin. A fine layer of dust and sweat is a permanent second skin, and the world shimmers with heat haze. It's a world where air conditioning is a laughable, impossible dream. And surviving a heat wave isn't about adjusting your thermostat. It's a brutal reality that requires ingenuity, desperation, and a little bit of ancient luck. I'm going to be honest with you, most of us probably wouldn't last a single week. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And as you settle in, let me know where you are in the world and what time it is for you right now. I always love to see how far these stories travel. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The ordered brick streets of the Indus Valley dissolve behind you, replaced by the chaotic, bustling thoroughfares of a massive imperial city. The air here is a thick, humid blanket that clings to your skin, smelling of spices, street food, and the sheer density of a million lives being lived at once. This is Imperial China, and the sun is as much a symbol of the emperor's power as it is a relentless, physical force. You are a common citizen, a laborer or a merchant, and your reality is defined by the sweat that beads on your brow and the endless, shimmering heat haze that rises from the packed earth roads. You're not living in a perfectly planned city with communal plumbing. You're living in a world of staggering extremes, where the difference between life and death is a single degree of temperature, and the difference between comfort and agony is determined by your place in a rigid social hierarchy. Your journey begins in the heart of ancient Egypt, a land of stark contrasts. The monumental stone temples stand proudly against the horizon, but your home is a humble, mud-brick dwelling on the edge of the Nile's floodplain. The sun is your enemy, and it's winning. You wake before it, not because you're a morning person, but because you know the precious few hours of cool morning air are a gift from the gods. The walls of your house are thick. Yes, but by midday, they'll be radiating all the heat they've soaked up since sunrise. The heat is an entity, a silent predator that stalks you through the day, sapping your strength and clouding your thoughts. Your home is a simple dwelling of wood and clay tiles, a structure that offers little protection against the midday sun. The heat soaks into the walls and the floor, turning your house into a kiln by late afternoon. Your primary tool for survival, your only real defense against this oppressive heat, is a fan. Not a whirring electric fan, but a simple, beautifully crafted fan of bamboo and silk. You spend your day with your hand in constant, rhythmic motion, a small, fluttering piece of fabric that does little more than stir the hot, stagnant air around your face. It's a continuous Sisyphean task, a physical manifestation of your struggle. The motion of fanning yourself is so ingrained, so constant, that you do it without thinking, a reflex born of desperation. It's like trying to cool down the ocean with a teacup. You might mutter to yourself, a joke that feels more like a bitter truth. The secret to your survival and your ancient life hack is a simple, ingenious piece of architecture known as the Malkoff, or wind catcher. You look up at the rectangular shaft on your rooftop, a A simple opening that catches the slightest breeze and funnels it down into the rooms below. It's not a miracle worker, but it's the difference between a sweltering death trap and a barely habitable space. You feel a whisper of moving air against your face, a small victory in a day full of defeats. The air itself is dry, hot, and dusty, so you have another trick up your sleeve. A technique so low-tech it's almost laughable from our modern perspective. You and your family spend the morning lugging large, shallow clay pots filled with water from the Nile. You place these pots near the wind catcher's vent, sometimes even draping wet reeds or papyrus stalks over them. The hot, dry air flowing in from the roof evaporates the water, a process that cools the air around it. It's a primitive swamp cooler, a humidifying air conditioner powered by physics and elbow grease. The rest of your cooling strategy is a series of small, desperate measures. You wear loose-fitting silk or cotton garments. The fabric a gossamer thin layer that offers a modicum of relief. You seek out the narrow alleyways between buildings, places where the sun's direct assault is blunted by the shade. You drink lukewarm water, not because it's a luxury, but because it's the only temperature available and you know that drinking ice-cold water on a blazing hot day can be a shock to the system. You eat foods that are believed to have a cooling effect on the body, like watermelon and mung bean soup. Simple foods that are a small comfort in a world of discomfort. Your survival is a careful, meticulous dance with the sun, a constant negotiation that you are only just winning. This is your rhythm wake early. Do the heaviest work, and then retreat inside as the sun climbs higher. You spend the long, blistering afternoon in the relative gloom of your home. The air now heavy with moisture from the evaporating water. It's not comfortable, not by a long shot. The humidity hangs in the air, making every breath feel thick, and the mosquitoes seem to love the dampness. The house is alive with the hum of flies, the scent of damp earth, and the constant, nagging feeling of being on the edge of exhaustion. Your modern equivalent of this would be trying to survive a Florida summer with nothing but a damp towel and a box fan. You can laugh at the thought, but it's no joke here. This is your entire world, and the constant battle against the heat is as much a part of your daily life as eating or sleeping. But then, you hear the rumors. Whispers of a different world. A world so far removed from your own it feels like a fairy tale. You hear about the emperor and his court, about a life of unimaginable luxury and cool comfort. This is where the common historical fact comes in the imperial ice houses. These were vast, subterranean pits, dug deep into the earth and lined with a thick layer of insulation, often a mixture of straw and mud. In the winter, armies of laborers would be tasked with cutting huge blocks of ice from frozen lakes and rivers and transporting them to these pits. The ice would then be carefully packed and covered, and it would last well into the brutal summer months. These pits were a state secret, a symbol of absolute power, and the ice was reserved exclusively for the royal family and the highest-ranking nobles. You remember the old tale about the pharaoh who had his servants fan him with ostrich feathers, a detail so common it feels like a universal symbol of ancient luxury. But for you, the ostrich fan is just a dream. Instead, you have a hand-woven fan made of palm fronds, a simple tool that does little more than stir the hot air around your face, a temporary illusion of coolness. The sheer physical effort of fanning yourself seems counterproductive, yet you do it out of habit, a desperate gesture against an overwhelming force. Historians still debate whether the use of ice imported or cut from the mountains during winter and stored in underground pits was widespread among the Egyptian elite, or if it was a rare luxury reserved for a select few. The thought of a cool drink, a single cube of ice, is a fantasy too magnificent to truly comprehend. For them, the heat was not a daily struggle, it was an inconvenience to be managed. The emperor's palace was a thermal fortress, with rooms that could be chilled by placing massive blocks of ice in them. Imagine, if you can, the sight of a room filled with the gentle mist and ethereal glow of melting ice, the air crisp and clean, the scent of chilled flowers filling the space. While you were fanning yourself in your sweltering home, the emperor was sipping on a chilled wine, his very reality defined by a level of coolness that you could only dream of. A joke you might tell yourself is, the emperor doesn't sweat, he perspires liquid coolness. A phrase so absurdly out of touch with your reality that it's almost funny. Your life is a study in thermal management. Your clothing, for instance. You wear a simple linen tunic, loosely woven to allow for maximum airflow. It's not just a fashion statement, it's a survival suit. The fabric is light, breathable, and a world away from the heavy woolen furs of colder climates. Linen production in Egypt was a huge industry, and its use wasn't just for comfort, it was a crucial component of ancient thermal regulation. A lesser-known fact is that some Egyptians would soak their linen garments in water and then put them on, allowing the evaporative cooling effect to work on their bodies directly. It's a temporary relief. Sure, but a blissful one. You can almost feel the chill as the water evaporates from your clothes. A brief moment of peace before the sun reasserts its dominance. Now, here's a little-known detail that shows just how far this luxury went. Some of the most elaborate palaces and villas had built-in cooling systems that were incredibly sophisticated for their time. Servants would use foot-powered paddle wheels or water-powered mechanisms to turn fans that were strategically placed within the walls of a room. This created a continuous, artificial breeze that was more than just a momentary flutter. It was a constant, moving current of air. And the really clever part, these fans were often placed near the ice blocks, so the cool air from the melting ice was circulated throughout the room, creating a kind of ancient, low-tech air conditioning system that worked around the clock. The wealthy didn't just enjoy the coolness, they engineered it, manipulating their environment in a way that you could barely comprehend. You, with your hand fan, are a world away from a foot-powered machine that brings you a constant stream of cool air. Your food and drink are also dictated by the heat. You consume a diet rich in waterlogged vegetables and grains, and your drink of choice is a weak beer, or what we would call a small beer. It's not for getting drunk. It's a safer alternative to drinking potentially contaminated water from the Nile. The low alcohol content acts as a preservative, making it a reliable source of hydration. The beer is tepid, of course, but it's wet, and that's all that matters. You laugh quietly to yourself, a dry, weary chuckle. Imagine trying to explain to someone today that your light beer is the key to not dying of dehydration. The thought is absurdly modern, a jarring contrast to the ancient reality you inhabit. This is where the academic debate arises. Historians still argue whether there was any trickle-down effect from this imperial luxury. Some scholars believe that during particularly brutal heat waves, a small amount of ice may have been distributed to the masses, perhaps as a public relations move to show the emperor's benevolence, or to prevent riots. Other historians are more cynical, arguing that the ice was a symbol of power and that to share it would be to dilute its value. They contend that the distribution of ice would have been a logistical nightmare, and that the emperor's primary concern was his own comfort and the stability of his court, not the well-being of the common people. The truth, like so much of ancient life, is lost to time and the scarcity of records. All you know is that you've never seen a piece of ice in the middle of summer. The constant heat has other, more subtle effects on you. Your body is always slightly dehydrated, your skin dry and cracked, and the world seems to move at a slower, more deliberate pace. You find yourself conserving every ounce of energy, moving with the slow, purposeful steps of someone who knows that every wasted motion is a step closer to heat exhaustion. The oppressive sun dictates your entire life, from when you wake to what you eat to how you move. Evenings bring little relief. The stones and bricks of your house have spent all day absorbing the sun's energy, and they now release it slowly, turning your home into a furnace long after the sun has set. You try to sleep on the roof, under the stars, to catch what little breeze there is. But even the air feels hot. You lie there, listening to the murmurs of your neighbors, all of you united in the shared, silent suffering. Your day is a slow, hot march toward evening. The sun is a relentless, golden orb in the sky, and you feel its weight on your shoulders, its warmth radiating from the ground. You have a constant, low-level headache from the dehydration, and your mind feels thick and sluggish. The thought of a chilled drink is a powerful motivator, a mental escape from the physical reality you inhabit. You can almost taste the crisp, cold water, a fantasy so vivid it feels real. This is the psychological burden of the heat, the way it colors every thought and every action, making simple survival a mental and emotional marathon as well as a physical one. This constant battle isn't just physical, it's a mental and emotional drain. The perpetual discomfort wears you down, making you irritable and short-tempered. You've seen how heat can turn a small disagreement into a full-blown conflict. It's a constant, low-level stressor that affects every aspect of your life. And yet, you and your people have found a way to not just survive, but to thrive. The pyramids, the temples, the vibrant culture, all of it was built by people who understood the sun's power and found ingenious ways to counteract it. You are a small part of that legacy, a testament to human resilience in the face of an elemental force. You close your eyes, the gentle, humid air from your swamp cooler brushing against your face, and you hope for a cooler tomorrow. As the sun begins to set, the air, though still hot, feels different. The world seems to take a collective breath, a moment of shared relief as the light fades and the stars begin to appear. You climb to your roof, a common practice in this city, to catch whatever little breeze might be stirring. The rooftops are a community, a silent gathering of people escaping their sweltering homes. You can hear the sounds of your neighbors, the soft rustling of their fans, the quiet murmurs of their conversations. You lie on your back, looking up at the vast, star-filled sky, and you think about the Emperor, a man so powerful he can command the mountains to give up their ice. You wonder what he thinks about, what it feels like to live in a world where the sun has no power over you. The thought is a fleeting, impossible dream, and you push it away. Your reality is here, on this warm rooftop, with a hand fan and the hope that tomorrow will be a little less hot than today. You've left the humid, life-giving air of the Nile behind. Now, imagine you're breathing something different. It's dry, dusty, and laced with the smell of wood smoke, sweat, and 1,000 crowded lives. You're in Rome, the heart of an empire, and the sun is still your tyrant. But here, the battle against the heat is a different kind of struggle, a class struggle. In fact, you are a citizen of this grand city, but you don't live in a sprawling villa with gardens and fountains. You live in an insula, a multi-story apartment block, where the walls are thin, the windows are small, and every degree of heat from the apartments below and the sun above seems to find its way directly into your living space. The gentle hum of the imperial city's rooftops fades, and you feel the cool night air give way to a fresh, vibrant heat. You're standing on a hill overlooking the Aegean Sea, and the sun is a brilliant, blinding white orb in a sky so blue it feels impossible. You are in ancient Greece, and this is a world of sharp lines, strong shadows, and a kind of intellectual discipline that applies to everything, even the fight against the heat. There are no great monuments to cooling here, no massive aqueducts or secret ice houses. The Greek solution to the sun is not one of engineering or brute force. It's one of philosophy, of geometry, and of a deep, abiding respect for the natural world. The day begins with a brutal heat that's already baked into the city streets. The stone of the roads and buildings has been soaking it up all night. And by mid-morning, Rome becomes an oven. Your apartment is a pressure cooker, and there's no relief to be found inside. Your body is slick with sweat, and the only thing that separates you from a full-blown meltdown is the hope of a trip to the baths. The public baths, or thermae, are your sanctuary. They are the great equalizer. A place where for a small fee you can escape the oppressive heat of your cramped quarters. But it's not a spa day. Not like you might think. This is a communal experience, a seething mass of humanity. You walk through the streets, the glare of the sun off the white marble and pale stone almost blinding you. And the only thought in your head is the cool, dark promise of the frigidarium. Your home here, your oikos, is not just a place to live. It's a carefully calibrated instrument for survival. It's a common historical fact that Greek houses, particularly in the classical period, were designed with a deliberate passive solar orientation. You walk inside and the difference is immediate. The air is still, but it's cool. The walls are thick, made of unbaked mud bricks or stone, a simple material that is a powerful insulator, much like the houses in Mesopotamia. But the true genius is in the placement. Your house is oriented to the south, with the main rooms and living spaces all facing in that direction. This is not a coincidence, it's a deliberate choice. You step inside the vast, cavernous halls of the baths, and the world changes. the sounds of the city outside the creaking carts. The shouts of vendors are replaced by the echo of voices, the splash of water, and the gentle scraping of the strigil as men and women clean themselves. The air here is different. It's heavy with steam and the scent of oils, but the temperature is noticeably cooler than the oppressive heat of the streets. You move through the different rooms, enduring the heat of the caldarium, the hot room, and the tepid water of the tepidarium. But your goal, your absolute prize, is the frigidarium. You take a deep breath and plunge your body into the ice-cold water. During the winter, when the sun is low in the sky, its light streams directly into your home, warming the stone floors and the thick walls, giving you a precious few hours of natural heat. But in the summer, when the sun is high and at its most brutal, the overhanging eaves of the roof cast a deep shadow, shielding the entire southern facade of your house from the direct rays. The house is a sundial, a living clock that tells the seasons, a silent, static defender against the sun. You can't help but be impressed by the sheer elegance of the idea. It's so simple, so logical, that you wonder why no one else has thought of it. It's the difference between fighting a battle with a sword and winning it with a clever strategy. This isn't an AC, you think. It's an IQ. A joke, sure, but there's a kernel of truth to it. The shock is immediate, a glorious, bone-deep cold that makes your skin tingle and your muscles seize. You can feel the heat being pulled from your body, a visceral, physical sensation. This is the closest thing you'll get to heaven on earth. You float there for a moment, letting the coolness sink in, a fleeting moment of peace in a life of constant struggle. The water is drawn from the great aqueducts that snake across the countryside, a marvel of engineering that you, a common citizen, take for granted. You've probably never thought about the journey this water took, from a cool mountain spring to this very pool. It's simply there. And for a few fleeting minutes, you are blissfully, wonderfully cool. The city around you is a similar testament to this philosophy. The streets are not a confusing maze like in Mesopotamia, nor are they a straight grid like in the Indus Valley. They are laid out in a way that allows for natural airflow, for the sea breeze to find its way into the heart of the city. The houses, but too, are built to work with each other, casting shadows on the streets and creating a community of cool spaces. This is a society that has built its world around the sun, not in defiance of it. But this isn't the full story of Roman cooling. The frigidarium is just a taste of what the city has to offer. Now, let's leave the bustling, communal world of the baths and take a walk, not just across the city, but into a different reality. We're going to the Palatine Hill, to the home of a wealthy senator, a man whose reality is utterly alien to your own. His villa isn't just a house, it's a fortress against the sun. The walls are thicker than your apartment. The ceilings are high, and the rooms are designed to capture the smallest hint of a breeze. He doesn't need to walk across a scorching city to find relief. Relief comes to him. Now, for a little-known detail, you step into the central courtyard of your oikos, and you can feel the air change. This courtyard, or peristyle, is a crucial part of the home's cooling system. It is often open to the sky, but a small garden or a carefully placed tree provides shade, and a small pool or fountain provides a source of cool water. This isn't a Roman luxury, but a common part of the average citizen's home. The cool, still air of the courtyard settles at the bottom, and as the day heats up, the warm air from the rest of the house rises and escapes through the open roof, creating a kind of convection current. The house is breathing, exhaling hot air and inhaling the cool, moist air from the courtyard. It's a beautiful, elegant solution. A constant, gentle flow of air that keeps the house livable. You're not trying to create a microclimate, you're living in one. This is where the real ancient air conditioning was at work. The same aqueducts that fed the baths also fed the homes of the elite. Small, lead pipes, hidden within the walls, would carry cool mountain water to private fountains and pools. The water would flow through the walls, cooling the very structure of the house before draining away. The senator could literally have a chilled room, not by evaporation, but by the constant, flowing circulation of cold water. He has his own frigidarium, a private plunge pool in his home that doesn't smell like 100 other people. He can sit in his library, surrounded by scrolls, and feel a constant, ambient coolness permeating the air. It's like living in a giant marble swamp cooler that runs 24/7 without you ever having to lift a finger. Imagine, you might think to yourself, being able to chill your home and your drink at the same time. That's a joke you'd tell in your crowded insula that no one would find funny. Because for them, it's a bitter reality. The academic debate is whether the design of the Greek house, specifically the placement of the gyneceum, the women's quarters, was a matter of thermal efficiency or social custom. The gyneceum was almost always located on the upper floor or in the least accessible parts of the house, away from the street and the public life of the home. Some historians argue that this was a social constraint, a way to keep the women of the household sequestered and out of public view. But others contend that it was also a clever cooling strategy. The upper floors were naturally hotter, and the women, who spent much of their day indoors, would have a dedicated space that was less impacted by the heat. The truth, like so many things in ancient history, is likely a combination of both. You can't separate social life from physical reality, and the Greeks were masters of turning a social custom into a thermal advantage. A little-known fact is that some Roman villas with a hypocaustum, the sophisticated underfloor heating system, were occasionally adapted for cooling. During the hot summer months, the wealthy would have the hot air channels below their floors filled with cool water or even snow, effectively creating a radiant cooling system from the ground up. Historians still debate whether this practice was widespread or limited to a handful of exceptionally wealthy and innovative individuals. But the engineering was certainly there. The idea of having a building so well controlled that you could reverse its very function is mind-blowing. A testament to the sophistication of Roman engineering when money was no object. You're just trying to survive the day, and they're worried about whether their radiant cooling system is working efficiently. It's a different world entirely. The day wears on, and you feel the full effect of the Greek approach. You spend the hottest hours indoors, in the cool, dark comfort of your home. You eat a light meal of olives, bread, and cheese, washed down with a watery wine, a drink that serves the same purpose as the tepid beer you remember from Egypt. You're not fighting the heat, you're flowing with it, a part of the natural rhythm of the day. You don't have to lug heavy water pots or worry about the logistics of imperial ice houses. You simply have to exist in a world that has been designed for you. You remember the old joke from the Roman baths about the emperor and his wine? You'd probably tell a different kind of joke here. Why do the Greek gods love the summer? Because they love a good echo and painy. It's a little nerdy, a little dry, but it fits the intellectual and calculated vibe of this world. And what about the most exclusive luxury of all, a cold drink? The emperor and his peers weren't just drinking tepid beer, they were enjoying chilled wines and water. The Romans had a system for harvesting snow and ice from the mountains during the winter, and storing it in insulated, deep underground pits called nivearia. These pits were so well designed that they could preserve snow well into the summer months. Can you imagine the amount of labor and logistics required for this constant procession of slaves and wagons, loaded with snow, making the long, arduous journey from the mountains to the city? Also, a senator could have a cool drink on a hot afternoon. For you, a cool drink is a myth. For them, it's a daily expectation, a simple pleasure that defines their status. As the sun begins its slow descent toward the sea, you step out of your home. The air is still warm, but a gentle breeze from the Aegean is starting to pick up. You can feel it on your face, a salt-laced wind that is a world away from the dusty air of Mesopotamia or the humid air of imperial China. You walk down to the agora, the public square, and you see your fellow citizens starting to emerge from their homes, all of you united in this shared, intelligent approach to survival. You are not a warrior against the sun, you are a partner. You are a small part of a society that has chosen to use its mind, not its muscle, to overcome the most elemental of forces. You lie on your roof under the vast, star-filled sky, and you think about the wisdom of your ancestors, a wisdom that is etched into the very walls of your home. The breeze from the sea washes over you, a gentle, cool touch, and you drift off to sleep, feeling the quiet, profound comfort of a life well designed. The urban heat island effect, a concept we understand well today, was a very real, very brutal part of Roman life. The stone and brick of the city, the sheer density of the population, and the massive amount of fires for cooking and heating all contributed to a city that was significantly hotter than the surrounding countryside. This meant that the poor Yasu lived in the most crowded areas of the city, were the most affected by the heat. The wealthy, with their suburban villas and spacious homes, were often insulated from the worst of it. The gap wasn't just social, it was physiological. The poor were physically suffering more simply by virtue of where they lived. This is an overlooked but crucial aspect of ancient class struggle. You've left the gentle breeze of the Aegean behind. The sun, once your most relentless foe, is now a distant, low-hanging star, a weak lamp in a world that has turned to gray. The warmth of the Greek sun and the cool relief of the oikos are a fading memory, replaced by a cold that seeps into your bones, a damp, biting chill that no amount of clothing seems to fully resist. You are in Scandinavia, a land of deep fjords, misty forests, and a sun that barely rises above the horizon during the endless winter months. Here, the struggle is not against the overwhelming heat, but against the suffocating, life-stealing cold. This is a world where survival is not about finding shade, but about creating light and warmth. The day wears on and the heat reaches its peak. You're back from the baths, but the relief is already fading. The water has dried from your skin, and the sweat is back. You find yourself seeking the shade of a narrow alleyway, a brief respite from the relentless sun. You sit on a cool stone step, eating a piece of bread and some cheese, conserving your energy. Your mind wanders to the senator on the Palatine Hill. He is likely resting on a couch, a cool cup in his hand, a breeze from a hidden aqueduct shaft whispering through his home. You laugh a dry, tired laugh. He's probably complaining that the ice in his wine melted too quickly. Your new home is a longhus, or longhouse, a massive communal dwelling that seems to be a part of the very earth it's built on. The walls are made of thick timber and lined with planks, but they are not the true defense. The real genius of the longhouse is its insulation. Your house is a fortress of warmth. The walls are often packed with a mixture of mud, straw, and clay, a simple but incredibly effective way of trapping heat. The roof, a common historical fact, is a thick layer of turf that grows with grass and even small trees. It is literally a living roof, a natural blanket that protects you from the cold. The house is a small, warm island in a sea of frozen earth and biting wind, and every moment you spend inside is a moment of profound gratitude. But the reality is, the ingenuity of ancient Rome was a double-edged sword. Their great engineering feats, their mastery of water and stone, only served to highlight the vast chasm between the haves and the have-nots. Your escape to the public bath is a beautiful, fleeting moment of shared relief. His constant coolness is a permanent, luxurious reality. You live in a world where you must fight the sun every single day, while he has turned his home into a monument against it. As the sun finally begins its slow descent, you feel the stone beneath you give up some of its stored heat. It's still hot, but the worst is over. You stand and slowly make your way back to your cramped apartment, dreaming of the next time you can afford the brief, beautiful luxury of the baths. You walk into the main hall, the heart of the home, and the world changes completely. The air is thick with the scent of wood smoke, roasting meat, and 100 people living in close quarters. The only light comes from the central hearth, a long, stone-lined fire pit that runs down the middle of the room. This fire is your sun. It is your kitchen, your light source, and your only source of heat. Around it, people are bustling, cooking, telling stories, and working on their crafts. The air is warm, almost hot, and the contrast between the freezing, desolate world outside and the bustling, living world inside is a constant, shocking surprise. The memory of the cold water in the Roman baths is a beautiful, fleeting mirage, a luxury you can no longer afford. Your feet are now on different ground, the dusty earth of Mesopotamia, the land between two rivers. The air here is an entirely new kind of heavy. It's not the humid soup of the Nile, but a bone-dry, suffocating blast that carries the fine, sandy grit of the desert. The cities rise from the landscape as if they were born from the earth itself. Vast settlements of sun-baked mud brick that seem to melt into the horizon under the blinding sun. This is a place where survival is not about conquering nature, but about understanding and negotiating with it. You live in a 2-story home, not a crowded Roman apartment, but a dwelling that is part of a tightly packed maze of buildings. The streets are a labyrinth of shadows and dust, a testament to a people who knew that the most valuable commodity in the midday sun was a sliver of shade. A little-known detail about the longhouse hearth is its dual function. The smoke from the fire doesn't just rise out of a hole in the roof. As you might expect, it is a carefully managed process. The smoke is allowed to fill the upper portion of the longhouse, where it hangs like a thick, dark cloud, before slowly exiting through a vent. This smoke, believe it or not, serves a purpose. It helps to preserve the meat and fish that are hung from the rafters to cure, and it also acts as a natural deterrent to insects. The smoky air is not exactly pleasant to breathe, but it is a necessary part of a delicate balance. You find yourself squinting through the haze, your eyes stinging a little, but you wouldn't trade it for anything. This smoke is the scent of survival. Your modern self would look at this city and see a chaotic mess, a jumble of unpaved roads and oddly shaped buildings, but your ancient mind understands the genius behind it. The streets are deliberately narrow and twisting, like the pathways of a desert canyon. The close-packed buildings cast long, deep shadows, creating a patchwork of cool spots where you can walk without the sun's direct assault. It's an entire city designed to be a passive cooling system. A simple yet brilliant hack. So fundamental to life here that you don't even think of it as a design choice. It's simply the way things are. You laugh to yourself, a dry, dusty chuckle. Forget feng shui. You think, this is sun shui. The thought is absurdly modern. A playful thought in an otherwise serious world. The academic debate is whether the longhouse was a symbol of communal harmony or a necessary evil. Living in such close quarters, with multiple families sharing a single room, could lead to conflict and tension. There was no privacy here, no quiet corner to retreat to. The constant noise, the competing smells, the sheer proximity of so many people would be overwhelming for a modern person. However, some historians argue that this communal living fostered a deep sense of cooperation and social cohesion, a necessity for a people who relied on each other for survival. The saga you are told by the hearth fire is not just entertainment, it's a social history, a way of passing down the stories and values of your people. You are a part of a collective, and your survival is tied to the survival of the person next to you. This is not a choice, it is a way of life. The real magic, however, lies in your home itself. The walls are thick, made of mud brick that has been baked hard by the very sun you're trying to escape. This material is a phenomenal insulator. It takes all day to heat up, and it takes all night to cool down. It's the opposite of a modern house, in which cools down quickly but also heats up quickly. Here, the house starts the day cool from the night air, stays cool through the day, and then slowly releases its stored heat in the evening, providing a warmth that you'll be grateful for once the sun sets and the desert air turns cold. It's a thermal battery, a clever piece of engineering that works on a geological timescale. But it's only half the story. The day is short here, a brief period of low, gray light. You spend your waking hours near the hearth, working on a tool or a piece of leather. Your food is a simple but hearty mix of dried meat, fish, and a thick stew made with root vegetables. You laugh to yourself, a sound lost in the general din of the hall. Imagine trying to get by here on a diet of watery beer and olives. The thought of the Greek diet is absurdly light. A diet for a sun-soaked world that has nothing to do with the heavy, calorie-rich reality you inhabit. Everything here is designed to give you energy to fight the cold, from the woolen clothes you wear to the dense food you eat. The true marvel, the centerpiece of your architectural survival, is a structure called a badgir, or a wind tower. It is a tall, chimney-like opening on the roof of your house. A simple, elegant solution that harnesses the wind. Unlike the Egyptian malkaf, which often just caught a breeze. The badgir is a true tower, designed to reach above the rooftops and capture the wind currents that pass over the city. It's a vertical scoop, a periscope for the breeze. You can feel the constant, gentle flow of air coming down into your home, a current of life in a world of stillness. And just like the Egyptians, you've taken this natural marvel and given it an upgrade. As the low sun finally dips below the horizon, the longhouse plunges into a soft, smoky gloom. The fire in the hearth is your only source of light, and the world shrinks to a small circle of warmth and dancing shadows. You pull your thick woolen blanket around you, a treasured possession. You are sleeping on a raised bench, with the rest of your family nearby. The fire crackles, and you can feel the warmth on your face. You lie there, listening to the murmurs of your neighbors, the quiet rustle of a sleeping child, and the occasional creak of the roof as the wind howls outside. The cold is a constant presence, a silent enemy that is always waiting just beyond the thick walls. But here, in this small, warm space, you are winning. You close your eyes, and you feel the immense, profound comfort of knowing that you are safe. For now, from the cold, and you drift off to sleep, dreaming of the summer and the return of the sun. At the bottom of the wind tower, a few clay jars filled with water are set into the floor. As the hot, dry air from the tower rushes past them, it evaporates the water, a process that chills the air around it. It's an elegant, low-energy system that cools and humidifies the air at the same time. The air in your home isn't just moving, it's being conditioned. And the result is a space that feels calm and livable, a true sanctuary from the madness outside. You've got an ancient air conditioner running on wind power and physics, and you don't even have to pay a bill. You could probably sell this idea to a modern architect as a sustainable green living solution and make a fortune. It's funny how old ideas become new again. The sweet, earthy smell of the Southeast Asian monsoon fades, and the air becomes thin and sharp, carrying with it the scent of cold earth and distant pines. You are now in a world of stark, natural beauty, a place where the sun is a fleeting, precious commodity and the true challenge is not heat, but the deep, bone-chilling cold of the winter. You are in the pre-Columbian American Southwest, and your home is a dwelling carved into the very side of a cliff, a testament to a people who understood that the best way to survive the elements was to become a part of them. This is a world where architecture isn't about building a home, but about sculpting one from the earth itself. A common historical fact is that the great ziggurats of Mesopotamia, those monumental stepped pyramids, were not just temples, but were also likely designed with the same passive cooling principles in mind. Their immense size and the strategic placement of their ramps and entrances would have created natural airflow patterns, providing cooler spaces for the priests and nobles. The people who built these cities understood thermal dynamics on a level that was deeply intuitive and practical. They didn't have thermometers or computer models. They had millennia of experience and a keen sense of how the sun worked. Your new home is a cliff dwelling, an architectural marvel that seems to defy gravity. The walls are not made of separate bricks or stones, but are the living rock of the canyon itself. This is your most powerful tool for survival. The rock is a phenomenal insulator, absorbing the sun's warmth during the day and radiating it slowly and consistently throughout the cold. Dark nights? It's a natural thermal battery, a house that is always a few degrees warmer than the freezing air outside. You can feel the warmth of the rock against your back as you sit inside. A deep, comforting heat that is a world away from the unpredictable fires of the Norse longhouse. This is not about building a home, it's about finding one that has already been built for you, by nature itself. A little-known detail, though, is the use of water jars, not just for evaporative cooling, but as a kind of ancient water filter and temperature regulator. The clay was porous, and water would slowly seep through the walls of the jar, evaporating on the outside and naturally cooling the water inside. You would drink from these jars all day, not just for hydration, but for the glorious, refreshing taste of a cool drink. It's not quite the Roman ice house, you remember, but it's a constant, reliable source of refreshment, and that's worth more than all the ice in the mountains. This simple ceramic pot is your personal portable water cooler, a subtle but vital part of your daily routine. You walk into the central living space, and the air is still, but not cold. The light streams in from a single opening, a small window that is carefully placed to capture the most sunlight during the short winter days. This is a common historical fact. The orientation of these dwellings was a masterpiece of passive solar design. They face south, much like the Greek oikos, but for a completely different reason. The sun is not the enemy here. It is a welcomed, life-giving force. During the winter, the low sun shines directly into the dwelling, providing precious light and warmth. In the summer, when the sun is higher, the cliff face above casts a deep shadow, shielding the entire dwelling from the brutal afternoon heat. It's a perfect, self-regulating system, a house that breathes with the seasons. The academic world still debates whether the elaborate underground tunnels and cellars found in some Mesopotamian cities were used primarily for storage or if they were also designed as a means of escaping the intense summer heat. While some historians argue they were simply for keeping food and goods safe, others believe they served as a communal subterranean refuge during the most brutal parts of the day. The idea of an entire community retreating underground is a powerful image, a testament to the extremes people would go to for a moment of relief. You can almost feel the damp, earthy chill of a cellar, a welcome contrast to the furnace-like world above. A little-known detail about these cliff dwellings is the use of the kiva, a ceremonial chamber that was often located below the main living area. The kiva was not just for rituals, it was also a thermal anchor for the entire structure. Dug deep into the earth, it maintained a consistent, cool temperature year-round. In the winter, the relatively warm temperature of the earth would provide a source of heat for the rooms above. In the summer, the kiva would act as a cool sanctuary, a place to escape the midday heat. It's a design that leverages the natural thermal stability of the earth itself, a kind of built-in geothermal system that operates without a single moving part. You can feel the subtle pull of the kiva's cool air from the entrance, a quiet promise of relief. Your life is a constant dance between the sun and the shade. Your schedule is dictated by the arc of the sun across the sky. You get up with the dawn, and you do your work in the cool morning air. The midday is a time of rest, a time to retreat into your cool, dark home and wait out the worst of the heat. You remember the old joke, passed down from your father, why did the sun god create the siesta? Because he was tired of seeing everyone pass out in the streets? It's a joke, but it holds a brutal truth. The midday rest isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. The academic debate is whether these cliff dwellings were a permanent home for the people, or if they were only used during the cold winter months. Some historians argue that the difficulty of living on a cliff face, the constant struggle for water and food, would have made it impossible for a community to live there year-round. They believe that the dwellings were more like a seasonal refuge, a place to hunker down and survive the coldest parts of the year. Others argue that the incredible craftsmanship of the buildings, the intricate carvings and art, suggests that these were permanent, sacred homes. You, as a person living here, know the truth. This home is a refuge, a sanctuary, a place where your family is safe from the biting winds and the freezing temperatures. It is your anchor in a hostile world. Even your clothing reflects this reality. You wear a simple linen kilt or tunic, much like the Egyptians. But here, there's a greater emphasis on head coverings. A heavy cloth is wrapped around your head, not to keep you warm, but to shade your face and neck from the relentless sun. It's a simple piece of fabric, but it can be the difference between a minor headache and full-blown heat stroke. Your entire culture is an ode to passive thermal regulation, a society that has learned to live in harmony with the heat, not against it. You don't fight the sun, you outsmart it. Your day is a quiet, deliberate rhythm, dictated by the sun and the seasons. The cold is a constant companion, but it is not a surprise. You spend your day mending tools, weaving blankets, and preparing food for the long, dark nights. Your food is a simple but hearty mix of corn, beans, and squash, a trinity of crops that is a testament to your people's agricultural genius. Your clothing is made of thick, woven cotton or yucca fibers, not for a tropical climate, but for a cold one. The fabric is dense and warm, a second skin that protects you from the cold. You are a person who is constantly, quietly at war with the cold, but you are winning. As the day begins its slow descent, the air starts to change. The heat is still here, but it's less aggressive. The sky turns from a blinding white to a soft, golden orange, and the world seems to breathe a collective sigh of relief. The stone and mud of the city, which have been a prison all day, now start to become a comfort. They release their stored warmth, a gentle heat that wards off the cool desert night air. You go outside and sit on your roof, looking out over the city. The wind towers stand like silent sentinels, having performed their duty. You can feel the warm air rising from the earth, and you're grateful for the thick walls of your home that will hold off the coming night's chill. You lie there, on a simple reed mat, listening to the murmurs of the city below, a civilization built on the simple, ingenious power of mud and wind. You close your eyes, feeling the faint, cool breeze from your wind tower, a gift from the sky, and you drift off to sleep. As the sun begins its slow descent, The air turns to a sharp, biting cold. The canyon walls, which have held the sun's warmth all day, now glow with a soft, ethereal light. You sit at the mouth of your dwelling, looking out over the vast, silent landscape. The stars begin to appear, a brilliant, cold canopy over your head. You remember the other worlds you've visited, the bustling cities, the communal longhouses, the elegant courtyards. Here, you feel a sense of profound, quiet isolation. But it is not a lonely isolation. It is the peace of a person who has found a way to live in harmony with the most brutal of elements. You close your eyes, feeling the warmth of the rock against your back, and you drift off to sleep, a small, warm being in a vast, cold world. You feel the dry desert wind of Mesopotamia fading from your consciousness, replaced by a different kind of heat, a thick and heavy air that feels more like the Nile, but without the open space of the river. You are now in the heart of the Indus Valley civilization. In a city so meticulously planned, it seems less like a settlement and more like a work of art. The streets are straight, a grid of baked brick that would make a Roman engineer weep with envy. You are no longer in a labyrinth of shadows, you are in a place of order and precision, where the fight against the heat is not just a personal battle, but a collective, civic effort. The warmth of the cliff dwelling and the sharp scent of pines fades, replaced by the humid embrace of a new world. The air is thick with the scent of damp earth and the sweet, heavy perfume of cherry blossoms. You are in feudal Japan, and the sun, while not an enemy, is a powerful force that brings with it the suffocating humidity of summer. But here, the fight against the heat is not a battle of strength or a clever engineering feat. It is a dance, a philosophical conversation with the elements, a subtle, beautiful art form that has been perfected over centuries. You walk down a wide street. The bricks beneath your bare feet still warm from the morning sun. The buildings are uniform, a testament to a central authority that valued cleanliness and organization above all else. Your home is not a mud brick fort, but a carefully constructed two-story dwelling with a private courtyard. The air is still and hot, but you don't feel the same suffocating dread. Here, the life hack isn't a clever piece of personal architecture, it's the entire city itself. An engineered marvel of urban planning designed to make life in the blistering heat not just survivable, but sustainable. Your home is a traditional wooden house, a structure that would seem fragile and flimsy to a Roman or an Egyptian. There are no thick, insulating walls, no stone foundations. Instead, the house is a framework of polished wood, with a heavy tiled roof and a series of light, movable walls. This is your primary defense against the heat. Your house is not a fortress, it is a breathing, fluid entity, a design that understands that to survive the heat, you must not trap it, but guide it. You push aside a shoji, a paper-thin sliding door, and the world opens up. The wind, the light, the sound of cicadas, it all flows into your home as one continuous, unbroken experience. The most shocking thing, the one thing that would make your modern mind truly gasp, is the city's plumbing. You are standing in the middle of a city from the Bronze Age, and every house, including yours, has a toilet. Not an outhouse, not a hole in the ground, but a flush toilet connected to an intricate system of covered drainage channels running beneath the streets. The waste is carried away, out of the city, out of sight and out of mind. The smell of sewage is not a part of your daily life. And this single detail is a radical departure from every other ancient civilization you've encountered. It's a game changer. The cleanliness, the lack of disease from festering waste, is a passive form of heat survival. A city free of disease is a city that can devote its energy to thriving, not just enduring. Imagine trying to explain this to a Roman living in a crowded, smelly apartment block. You'd probably get a blank stare and then a joke about a new kind of magic. The concept of a fixed, private space is alien here. The rooms are defined by the walls. Yes, but the walls are not permanent. You can open them all up, creating one large, flowing space that is open to the elements. This is a common historical fact. Japanese homes were designed to be incredibly flexible. In the summer, you would remove most of the exterior walls, leaving only the framework of the house, which would be shielded by deep eaves from the harsh sun. The entire house becomes a kind of shaded, open-air pavilion. It is a stunning, elegant solution, a testament to a people who understood that in the summer, the most beautiful place to be is not indoors, but a space that is both inside and out. This advanced plumbing system is more than just a convenience. It is a thermal solution. The water flowing in the city's many public and private wells, as well as the underground drainage, creates a subtle but constant cooling effect. The ground is less a heat-retaining block and more a channel for moving water and air. You feel a sense of security and well-being that you've never experienced before. You have access to clean water whenever you need it, and you're not worried about the constant threat of waterborne disease. This is a common historical fact about the Indus Valley civilization, that their urban planning and sanitation were far ahead of their time. It's a fact so well known, it's almost cliché, but living it makes you realize how utterly revolutionary it was. A little-known detail is the importance of the ngawa, the long wooden veranda that runs around the perimeter of the house. The ngawa is not just a porch, it is a crucial part of the home's climate control. It creates a space between the interior of the house and the outside world, a kind of transitional zone. The sun heats the wood of the ngawa, but the deep eaves above keep the direct sun off the interior walls. In the evening, the ngawa, which has absorbed the sun's warmth all day, releases its stored heat slowly, providing a gentle warmth that keeps the humid night air from feeling too cool. It's a simple, elegant piece of thermal engineering that works on a minute-by-minute basis. You can sit on the ngawa in the evening, feeling the warmth of the wood against your skin, and you feel a sense of profound, quiet peace. But the city's relationship with water goes even deeper. A little-known detail is the presence of the Great Bath at Mohenjo-Daro, a massive, watertight pool in the center of the city. While historians often speculate about its ritualistic purpose, for you, it's a source of immense relief. The bath is not just for cleansing, it's a social and cooling hub. You can walk down to this central pool and plunge into the cool, still water. It's not a bustling, noisy Roman therme. It's a calm, quiet place, a perfect space to escape the midday heat. The sheer scale of it, and the fact that it was likely used by all citizens, speaks to a different kind of societal value, one that prioritized public health and well-being. It's a collective respite from the sun, a beautiful testament to a civilization that understood that the health of the individual was tied to the health of the community. The academic debate is whether the design of these homes, with their paper walls and open spaces, was a matter of cultural aesthetic or a necessity born of frequent earthquakes and the need for a structure that could give way and be easily rebuilt. Some historians argue that the emphasis on impermanence and the minimalist aesthetic was a reflection of the Zen Buddhist philosophy that was so dominant in the culture. Others are more pragmatic, arguing that the fragility of the homes was a simple, practical solution to a seismic reality. You, as a person living here, know that it is a combination of both. The beauty and the philosophy are inseparable from the practical reality of living in a world that is always in motion. The academic debate is whether the inhabitants of the Indus Valley, particularly in the cities of Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa, were a truly classless society. Their homes were remarkably uniform, with no grand palaces or ostentatious displays of wealth found in other contemporary civilizations. The shared access to sanitation and clean water, and the use of the Great Bath by everyone, suggests a society that was less stratified. However, some historians argue that the lack of evidence of class division simply means we haven't found it yet, and that the society was more complex than it appears. Regardless, for you, a citizen living in this city, the feeling is one of equality. The sun beats down on everyone, but the city's ingenious design offers relief to everyone as well. Your day is a gentle rhythm dictated by the flow of air and the movement of the sun. You rise early to do your work, while the morning air is still cool and the cicadas are just beginning their relentless chorus. You eat a light meal of rice, fish, and pickled vegetables, a diet that is designed to be cooling and hydrating. You drink from a clay pot of water, which has been cooled by the natural evaporation from its porous surface. This is not the grand, public luxury of a Roman bath, or the communal grace of an Angkorian reservoir. This is a small, personal, and beautiful act of self-care, a constant, quiet negotiation with the heat. The homes themselves were also designed with cooling in mind. The thick, baked brick walls held off the sun, much like the mud brick of Mesopotamia. But the design was more sophisticated. Homes were often built around a central courtyard, which provided a source of light and air without exposing the main living areas to direct sunlight. You can sit in your courtyard, a peaceful, shaded oasis, and feel the slightest breeze move through your home. The windows are small, located high up to let hot air escape and to limit the amount of sun that could get in. It's a clever design that uses the principle of convection, a natural air current that moves hot air up and out, and draws cooler air in from the ground. It's a smart, effective system that relies on the natural flow of things, not brute force. As the sun climbs higher, the air becomes thick and still. The cicadas reach their deafening peak, a sound that is both a sign of the heat and a beautiful, natural symphony. You spend the hottest hours of the day in the interior of your home, with the walls and doors open to create a constant, gentle flow of air. The house is a conduit for the breeze, not a barrier against it. You can hear the rustling of the bamboo in your small garden, and the sound of a wind chime, a small piece of metal that hums a beautiful tune every time the wind passes through. This is not a life of endurance, it is a life of harmony. Even your clothing is a part of this story. You wear simple, light cotton garments. Unlike the linen of Egypt or the wool of Rome, the Indus Valley had a thriving cotton industry, and the fabric is incredibly breathable and light. You're wearing the equivalent of a modern, high-performance athletic shirt, a piece of clothing designed to wick away sweat and keep you as cool as possible. You remember the Roman citizens complaining about the heat, and you want to tell them that they're just wearing the wrong clothes. That thought is a funny one. A quick moment of modern-day snobbery in your ancient mind. You have all the right tools for this hot climate. As the sun begins its slow descent, the air begins to move again. You can feel the breeze from your garden, a cool, gentle current that is a world away from the dusty winds of Mesopotamia or the salt-laced winds of the Aegean. You sit on the Ngawa. The paper doors of your house open to the world, and you watch the light fade from the sky. The air is filled with the scent of damp earth and the distant sound of a koto, a musical instrument that is playing a gentle, flowing tune. You close your eyes, and you think about the other worlds you've visited: the brute strength of Rome, the clever genius of Greece, the quiet grace of Angkor. Here, you feel a different kind of wisdom, a kind of soft, beautiful understanding. This is a society that has learned that to master the elements, you must first let them in. You drift off to sleep, feeling the cool breeze on your face, a small, perfect moment in a world of profound, quiet beauty. Your day is not about frantic, desperate survival. It is about a calm, ordered rhythm. You do your work in the cool mornings, and as the sun rises higher, you retreat into your home, into the shade of your courtyard. The quiet gurgle of water in your toilet's drainage channel is a constant, reassuring sound. You eat a simple meal of barley and legumes, washed down with clean water from the public well. The water is cool, a constant and beautiful gift from the city's builders. It's not the mythical, impossibly cold water from the Roman ice house you remember. It's something better. It's real, and it's always there. This is a city that has tamed the heat through order and logic, not through sheer will or brute force.